Hi guys, my name's Connor. I'm a science fiction, political, and philosophy nerd, a Marine Corps and law enforcement veteran, and a Never Trump Republican. I am hanging out with Dan. Dan, can you introduce yourself to the folks at home?
Yeah, I'm a retired special forces guy and a current author. Like to watch terrible movies and talk about them on the internet, and that's where we're going right now.
Well, the good news is we're not watching a terrible movie right now. We're watching one of the greatest movies ever made, which is Aliens. So Dan and I have a decent chunk of experience within the field of security. I was 4 years in law enforcement, 4 years in the Marine Corps. Dan, like you said, is retired special forces, so he has a lot of insight to share. So we're going to watch this together. We're going to pause intermittently. We're going to share our insights. I'll still be engaging with chat in reference to the previous topic, but for the sake of flow, let's go ahead and watch some Aliens together. Oh, and also I'm lifting weights right now, so if I shrug my shoulders randomly, my apologies. It might look weird.
Sir, we got the CPU online. No problem.
Good. Stand by in operations. Okay, let's go.
Now, I would actually say maybe we could fast forward because this feels like the clearing is largely done, and they're moving into the facility saying that it's already clear, et cetera, et cetera. Is there anything in this scene that you want to get, or do you want to kind of move to where they do first contact with the aliens?
I mean, it's just the lunacy of bringing this like corporate executive and this, antiquated, 150-year-old space truck driver like into the newly cleared hostile facility. I just like that. It just seems okay with that. But once you get past that, you're like, all right, sure, man.
I was about to say, I've seen enough stupid things in the military that actually is not immersion breaking for me. Like I was on Al Asad Air Base, so there was like, Burger Kings and McDonald's and like all that kind of stuff. And they're like, oh yeah, we might get mortared at some point, but there's like a dude in a McDonald's hat just chilling right there. And I'm just like, Jesus.
Here we are. Come on.
This is a weird way to fight warfare, bringing the McDonald's with us. Yeah. So what I'll do is I'll fast forward a little bit, just kind of as a summary. They do clear the building. The science geek, the corpo guy, he starts researching what they're doing. I think that they find they find Newt, the girl survivor. They find her hiding stash. Ripley is surprisingly kind to her. And then I think we get that famous line that, they come at night mostly. And
one of the most quoted lines for sure.
Yeah. And the little girl is super creepy about the aliens. And then we get this thing where they're like, okay, well, if I remember correct, all of the civilians have like, I don't know, RFID chips, or they have some kind of tracking chip inside them.
Yeah.
And so they realize that all like 70 or 80 colonists are all congregated in the nuclear power plant. And so they send in the team to go make contact with the civilians. But the fear is that they've already been consumed. They're walking into, the maw of the enemy, and they don't know what to expect because Ripley has only encountered one of them. And so they don't know what the threat level is.
Yeah, I think that's accurate, right? They're going to go down and check this thing out.
All right, cool. Then I'm going to let it play from them entering the facility because there's actually some weird rules of engagement bullshit that drove me crazy when I saw the film.
You tell me, man, I only work here.
What is that? I don't know. See it inside.
Like, to me, this is where it goes sideways. You know what I mean? Like, this is where, like, somebody probably should have assessed, like, wait a minute. Wait. The whole reactor's been rebuilt by bug chitin kind of thing. Like, the scale is just, like, exceeded. Like, all right, man, we got, like, 6-7 dudes here. We really got enough to deal with whatever the hell this is going to happen.
I'll say it, though. The aliens are already, like, I don't know if they're using like the nuclear reactor and the biological matter in order to like fuel their thing, but they're already converting the nuclear power plant into like a biomechanical construct, which is kind of like super creepy. Like you can see like almost what looks like ribs or vertebrae. You can see like kind of these organic, rounded shapes. Like these things, these walls almost look like sloughed skin, like saggy skin. So it's getting really creepy really quick. And so yeah, you're right. It's like the threat level might be higher. But can I just say that there is institutional momentum within the Marine Corps that effectively brainwashes 19-year-old Marines and 20-year-old Marines to think that they're immortal, like invulnerable, and capable of walking into the pit of hell and gouging out Satan's eyeballs. And that's kind of like the propaganda that we're fed as 18-year-olds. And so while these are probably grizzled veterans, they still might be operating off of that momentum because they've already fought insurgents. They've already fought other bugs. They've been working together as a team for a long time, and they don't want to puss out because they don't want to let down the rest of the team.
Yeah, that's true. I'll grant that. And we also don't know what their background is in terms of maybe this is common. Maybe all the bugs that they ever encountered start turning the facilities they're in into weird, what the hell was that guy's name? Geiger-esque, hellscapes. So maybe that's just normal. Whatever, man. It's just going to be more of those ants that do this shit. It's fine. It's totally fine. So maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this isn't an escalation of threat at all. It's just business as usual for a colonial Marine.
Yeah. Yep. Well, let's let it flow because they're going to do some crazy ROE shit in a minute.
Watch your fire and check your targets. Remember, we're looking for civvies in here.
Tighten it up, Frost. We're getting a little thin.
Nice and easy.
Looks like some sort of secreted resin.
Yeah. But secreted from what?
Nobody touch nothing.
Busy little creatures, huh?
Thank God somebody has common sense.
Hell in here.
You know what he's thinking about, though? He's thinking about post-op quarantine, Agent Orange, VA claim. He's like, I'm putting this on my VA claim. That's what he's thinking right in a second.
Yeah, this is 300 years or 200 years after burn pits. So he's already like, yeah, we're inhaling some alien goop that's going to rot out, give us cancer in the next 20 or 30 years. 100%.
His dad's, make sure you document that, son. Document that alien bullshit right there. Yes, sir.
Yeah. And also some dumbass Lance Corporal or whatever touches a particular slime on the wall that's acidic and it melts his fingers. So he's combat inoperative, but he didn't need to touch that wall. He was just curious. So actually this is funny. This is like a real world analog. We, especially in Okinawa, Japan, we had Asian cooperative operations with Singaporean and Republic of Korea and Thai and Myanmar, Marines and soldiers and stuff. And there's also a training where you go out into the jungle and part of the training is you capture and behead a snake and drink its blood because it's actually quite nutritious. And so,
survival school for sure.
Yeah. So for me, it's the way that we approached operating in Asia, where we had to learn the spiders and the snakes and the foliage and the poisonous plants and all that kind of stuff. That's the way that they're treating an alien biomechanical construct.
So did they get it? Did they get their little safety brief coming into this where the S2 kid was like, all right, you're going to see bug chitin. Don't touch the bug chitin. And one of the guys like, I licked the bug chitin. What do I do if I lick the bug chitin? They're like,
don't lick the bug chitin.
You just wonder how normal all this is. Maybe it's totally normal.
Well, actually sharing a crazy story from Iraq. So there was this guy that I served with. I went with him on his second deployment. He caught some random disease in Iraq that the doctors tried to treat. They couldn't treat it. He blew up like a balloon from an antihistamine reaction. They thought he was going to die. His reaction to the disease was so bad, they thought he was going to die. and they put him in a quarantine room and just waited to see whether or not he died. That was the medical treatment. The medical treatment was people with biohazard suits walking in and swapping out saline bags. That's all they could do. And he actually, like, he was telling me, he was like, not only did I think I was gonna die, but I was absolutely freaked the fuck out that America, with all of its crazy medical technology, the best they could do was quarantine.
It's funny, but that's not, I don't want to say it's common, but it's not as uncommon as you might think, that there are these kind of incurable or unknowns that people pick up in like Africa, the Middle East, and South America, and Asia, right? The four places where folks pick up stuff that just nobody's got the history to research on treatment. And so we'd have guys come up years later with like basically wasting ailments where they just start losing weight inexplicably and drop, 50, 60 pounds. Like nobody knows why, like nobody's sure, or get like weird sores. Like leishmaniasis was one of those that had a lot of those strange after effects that, I don't know, you don't really know where it comes from. But yeah, you're right. A lot of times it becomes kind of this treatment thing. We're like, we actually don't know how to cure it, or there's no cure for it. So we just treat the symptoms and try to keep the person healthy and hope they kind of come through it. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. But we should imagine the colonial Marines have a much higher burden, or a much worse experience with that, because I'm sure they bump into that shit all the time. Like 4 of these guys would have died anyway, even if the aliens hadn't got them.
Yeah. Well, and even if they didn't, like with advanced medical tech, they might have to spend like days in a med bay being supported with like palliative care because of their exposure to random shit. Now, that that extends an argument like they should be wearing PPE, like fucking gas masks and all that bullshit. But realistically, like, it's a movie. People want to see your faces. They want to see your expressions, all that kind of stuff. And when you start throwing on not just helmets, but also like masks, you lose some of that expressiveness.
Yeah, you're right. And honestly, most of the people that I know would have not worn the PPE if they could get away with it anyway, because it's just so hellish to put on and off and deal with, right? I mean, unless somebody's really making you do it, you're like, we'll be okay. It's gonna be fine. It's just chlorine. It's just whatever. It'll be all right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty true.
All right, for flow, let's get back into it.
Lieutenant, what do those pulse rifles fire?
10mm explosive tip caseless. Standard light armor piercing round 1.
Well, look where your team is. They're right under the primary heat exchangers.
So?
So, if they fire their weapons in there, won't they rupture the cooling system?
Yeah, she's absolutely right.
So what?
Look, this whole station is basically a big fusion reactor, right? So she's talking about a thermonuclear explosion and adios nachos.
Oh, great. Wonderful. Shit.
Or else but here again, back to the S2, like the normal intel guy, like nobody mentioned this at any point in the planning of this operation. Like, by the way, it's the entire thing is a giant thermonuclear reactor, so really shooting is super frowned upon.
So I'm gonna needle a little bit though. Okay. So one of the things about fusion is that it requires, at least, maybe fusion tech is different in the aliens universe, but fusion tech requires an extreme amount of energy in order to compress like atoms together to the point that like bonding atomic components creates like excess energy, right? And so one of the things about fusion, which is interesting, is that like you could actually just turn it off, and you don't have like the reaction will eventually cool and dissipate. You actually don't have like thermonuclear explosions. Whereas with fission, so I'm just going to go ahead and headcanon it that he said, oh, this is effectively like an entire fissile, it's a fission reactor. And a fission reactor, like, yeah, if you hit the heat exchanger, you might not call a thermonuclear explosion, but you will cause a thermonuclear meltdown, and you're irradiating, the location for the next century. So effectively, what happened in Fukushima Daiichi, what happened in Chernobyl, that's what we're talking about if the guns go off. Now, their response, I don't think is particularly good, but I want to let them do the response, and then I'll criticize it.
No, that's an interesting point. That's an interesting point that, I mean, we're assuming that in the next X hundred years, they haven't developed the tech that we already have, where if you penetrate the cooling system in a reactor, it's got basically a fail-safe so that it's not going to share Chernobyl anymore. Like, it's just funny to imagine that it would be that fragile. Like, if none of the colonists have anything that would have penetrated that super flimsy, like, sheet metal system and caused the whole place to explode, are they just...
Here's my headcanon. it's a corporation, so they don't care. You know, like
care.
it's cheap, and they have like 1,000 colonies. So if you know, for every 1,000 colonies, if one of them melts down,
Presumably, the reactor itself is expensive. I mean, even if the 70 colonists aren't, presumably. And if my kids could blow it up by accidentally shooting a firework through a damn ventilation shaft, then I don't know. They probably could have done a little bit more to harden this structure.
All right. Well, let's watch their. In my opinion, so Marines. This is something that's off from the culture of Marines. I'll go ahead and foreshadow the show. They decide to confiscate the ammunition from the pulse rifles and from the machine guns, which is fucking crazy to me. Like telling Marines that they have to go fight aliens like toe to toe with no ammo until they get to a different location. That's insane. And the Marine Corps in particular, they emphasize pushing leadership down to the lowest level possible. And so this is actually a cultural difference between the United States Marine Corps and the Colonial Marine Corps, where they're going to order their Marines to turn in their ammo. Whereas I'm pretty sure like the modern Marine Corps would be like, hey, dipshits, we know that you're all 18 to 22-year-old swinging dick dumbasses, but do not fire in this section of the building or you're going to kill us all. And that's what the order would be.
It's a weird one. It's weird that they would confiscate the magazines and then also continue to push forward. You're like, all right, man, I get that the LT is kind of a dumbass. I mean, he's young. Clearly, he's just an infantry dude. And you're like, what? Fusion reactor? I don't know what the fuck you just said to me, but what are we talking about right now? And like, yeah, we got to collect all. Why would you just fall back? Like, why are we going to continue the mission with also having the no ammo? Like, stop, wait.
It's starting to add up, you know. Like I'm with you that it's starting to add up. Where unknown numbers of contacts, 70 presumed dead colonists, although I think they have life signs. Weird biomechanical fucking horror, and if you fuck up, you're detonating the entire colony. Maybe 8 dudes isn't enough. I'm with you there.
Pause. Stop. You know, it's cool. You know, that colonist is there. They're not going anywhere. We'll come back in a couple of days.
Hold what you got. Yeah. So Paul for €5 says nice polo shirt. Thank you kindly. And let's observe the shenanigans that we were just describing.
Look, hey Paul. Look, we can't have any firing in there. I want you to collect magazines from everybody.
Is he fucking crazy? Hey, what the hell are we supposed to use, man? Harsh language?
Flame units only. I want rifles slung.
Sir,
Just do it, Sergeant. And no grenades.
All right, sweethearts. You heard the man. Pull them out. Come on, let's have them. Come on, Vasquez. Clear and lock. Jam. You two, give it up, Ski. Come on, let's go. Crow, I want it now. Give it up.
That part's realistic.
Yup.
Let's go, Marine. Give it up. Frost, you got the duty. Open that bag.
Thanks a lot, sir.
Thanks. Cover our ass. Head him out, people.
You know, in hindsight, though, the universe would have been better off if they just fired the weapons and blown up the entire facility, right? Like, wouldn't that
honestly, yeah, because that would have cleaned out the infestation.
Mission complete.
So real quick, I think they only have like 2 or 3 flamers in the 2 or 3 flamethrowers in the squad. So like I understand they're not totally unarmed, but the machine gunners are laughing to each other because they already carry a spare whatever like the firing mechanism, like the whatever that thing is. They carry a spare, so they basically tell the sergeant and lieutenant to go fuck themselves, so they have their machine guns operational.
Not and even then, a question, like not even a hint of a moment where they considered doing what they were told. They're like, no,
fuck that. Yeah, they're like, I'm not walking into a hornet's nest without a weapon. And then same thing with the veteran. He pulls out. So this is an Ithaca 37. So it's a very common shotgun in the modern era. And what's cool about it is it actually doesn't have a side ejecting port. It ejects the shotgun shell straight down. So when you pump it, not only does it eject the spent round straight down, but then it loads the second one. And so there's something called a standard manufacturing SP-12, which is a modernized tactical recreation of this gun. It's awesome.
I mean, does it just kind of look like a Mossberg? I mean, that's what it was.
Yeah,
it was a Mossberg.
Yeah, but I'll show you. So I'll actually pull it up real quick. So this is a Ithaca 37 shotgun. I'll pull it up. So
in
this
my
is the
head-
one that he actually has in the gun or in the movie. And so it's like the sawed-off version. There's no ejection port. The ejection port is the bottom.
It's funny because
And
it looks
then,
identical to a Mossberg otherwise, except it doesn't have a side ejection port.
yep, standard manufacturing SP12. They made a modernized version. And so eventually what I'm going to do, because I'm a psycho, is I'm going to buy this. I'm going to buy a 9mm AR-15. I'm going to 3D print a case so my 9mm AR-15 looks like a pulse rifle from Aliens. Then in Aliens Colonial Marines, the video game, they have a 9mm 1911, and I already have a family member who has one of those. And I'm going to run a 3-gun match with, the pulse rifle, shotgun, and 9mm 1911. So that, I don't have all the money for that, but if you want a super chat to help me support that mission, please do so.
And you're gonna dress like a Colonial Marine when you do it? I mean, are we
absolutely?
That is
absolutely.
amazing.
I'm gonna 3D print the armor and try to find fatigues that are close enough to theirs that it looks good.
So to me, one of the interesting things about this is that the fact that he carries that shotgun suggests to me that they still use them for breaching in like the far future. And so are they still using like a basic deadbolt or, latch style door that the shotgun can then breach? Like none of the doors in this compound look like that. They all like slidey electronic sci-fi shit. But presumably if he's bringing this shotgun, he's like, we're going to find some good old fashioned hollow core doors. I'm going to pop them deadbolts off. We're going to kick our way into this thing. Is that what he has it for? I just wonder.
Or a substantive amount of, this era is based off of like Vietnamese conflict and their psychological stuff. And what's funny is in Vietnam, a lot of people. So number one, the M1As or the M14s, they were wood stocks, and so they warped in the jungle atmosphere, and so a lot of people were complaining about the M1As. They replaced it with the M16, but then the M16 was having ammo issues where they used the wrong ammo, and so they were jamming a lot, and so people complained about that. Something that more elite units and more industrious grunts did is they got grease guns from World War II. They got 30 caliber carbines. They got pump action shotguns, and then they also got I don't know. There was one other submachine gun that was really popular, and then the SOG, the MACV SOG, was using the CAR 15. What was that?
The Thompson submachine gun was.
Oh, the Thompson. How could I forget the Thompson? So yeah, so they basically brought in close quarter stuff because with Vietnam, it was effectively like this level of distance, right? It's like 20 yards is your max observability.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense.
Yeah. All right. Nice.
Nothing. Zip.
Sorry, real quick. West Coast Girl is saying that the Destiny video, Destiny clears his name. He goes over all the evidence against the people who are attacking him. I've already watched it once. I don't think it had the evidence that I was looking for, but I'll watch it again. I'll watch it on the airplane.
Yep.
You know that shit stinks.
Go sit
Probably don't smell good. Bug plus rot.
Now.
Steady, people. Let's finish our sweep. We're still Marines and we got a job to do. Keep it moving.
Dude, if you watch the original Aliens, you were probably freaking out when you saw like the expended face hugger.
Yeah, it's the contrast, right, between what they know and what you know as the person watching a sequel. You're like,
no.
They don't know they're fucked, but you know they're fucked.
What?
Tuck it over here, we got a live one! You're gonna be all right. You're gonna be all right. Please.
You're gonna be all right. Like, I don't think so.
You're gonna be all right. Give me a hand. We gotta get her out of here.
What's going on?
Convulsion!
Get back!
Damn it!
Flamethrower! Kill it! Get back! Flamethrower! Move!
All right, they're about to get screwed over. let's take stock for a second. So Randy Chang says, what does IRL motion sensor stuff look like? It's all in the headgear. To be honest, man, I think I've seen like video games with motion sensor stuff. I think that there's motion sensor activated lights. There might be motion sensor automated like turrets that will aim, but I think you're still going to need somebody to pull the trigger. And I also think with like motion sensor, it would be really difficult to return like a single motion sensing echo out of all of that noise. Because if you're moving yourself, that you would almost need like a sonar ping, like going out. And then the sonar ping is going to return everything. It's going to return trees, bushes, vines, all that kind of stuff. So I just don't think that motion sensing technology is what you think it is. I think it's basically like a tripwire attached to floodlights.
Yeah, I mean, in my experience, there's a lot of, if you want to look at it as motion sensing technology for friendly force tracking, but that's all like phone based. So most units that do that kind of thing that I've worked in, at least, you just got a flip down phone on your chest and it tells you where all of your friends are. But in terms of like functionally radar, which is what we're talking about right now, I've not seen anything handheld that would produce anything like what this show is producing. Now, like the Air Force runs that stuff for, you know, like large scale vehicles moving, things like that, absolutely. But at the individual level in a house, no, I don't think it exists. Or at least I don't know about if it does.
And I, you know, bear in mind, you know, Dan retired a few years ago. I got out in 2010, so they could have some crazy shit right now. But as far as we know, it just wasn't. It wasn't even. It not only was it not prevalent, I don't think it was frequently used, or even infrequently used. I don't even think it was being tested at the time that I was in. Now,
but it's funny, right? Because the map overview that you see with all of the colonists on it, like even modern tech would have the Marines' positions on it. So they have these like camera systems. He talks to them, but there's really no Blue Force tracking involved. You don't see anything that suggests that that map overlay has the location of the Marines and here's where they are, which is kind of interesting because that's the tech went there first and never made it to this like 1986 vision of what the future would look like. But it's just amusing sometimes to see where sci-fi kind of gets it wrong.
I'll say, so I watched a thing the other day. Actually, it was probably about a month ago, 2 months ago, but it was saying that, which by the way, this is horrifying to me. They're getting body cameras that stream. So body cameras that go through the cell phone network in order to stream. So that's going to be the equivalent to what's in Aliens. But for me, there are going to be so many dispatchers who are going to get hella fucking PTSD from watching streams of their cops, because they're going to see the fights, they're going to see the bad fights, they're going to see the shootings, they're going to see the stabbings, they're going to see all that shit. I would actually, even if the body camera was streamed to a location, I would legitimately not let my dispatchers watch it, because I think it's too much information to process, and you are going to psychologically fuck up your dispatchers.
Yeah, and you also get the whole, like, do we really want to create the chain of evidence that forces this kind of, it encourages armchair quarterbacking in a situation where, like, look, man, these people are out there making sausage. Why are we increasing the amount of awareness we have on what it looks like to make that sausage? I mean, I think it's crazy making to me. Like, you got to trust the judgment of the people whose lives are at stake. And if you're really going to second guess them to the extent that you want to live see every decision they're doing all the time, I feel like it puts the officers or the military people, as we had similar tech, in a terrible position. You're like, one, you don't want to see it as the commander, and two, it's an unreasonable expectation for the person making split-second decisions.
That was definitely a substantive criticism and anxiety when body cameras came out, was exactly what you're talking about: Monday morning quarterbacking, trusting your Joes, all that kind of stuff. But I would say that, at least for me, only speaking for myself, that I ended up valuing the body cameras a lot because they oftentimes vindicated what we were doing. And so if we got a civilian complaint, we could just pull up the video and see if we were acting crazy or not. And so a lot of like civilian complaints were almost instantaneously dismissed because we had body camera. Same thing with if you make like a ballsy call, this is kind of like a silly story, but when I was a school resource officer, we had maybe like an 8-year-old who had legitimate issues, like bad psychological issues. And so she would pick up random shit and attack people with it in class. And so we would have to like escort her to the principal's office, have the parents come up, do like a battery report, like all that kind of shit. And one time I escort her to the principal's office, and I put her in the principal's office, and the principal isn't there, and I'm just hanging out with her in the principal's office, and she grabs a pair of scissors and starts running around the office as if she's going to stab me or stab herself. And so I basically like, by the way, this is how crazy use of force is, by the way. Use of force, the only caveat is imminent threat of death or great bodily harm to self or others. This is going to sound crazy, but technically I could have fucking shot her, like an 8-year-old kid with like sharp scissors, charging around the room. I could have shot her, but I was like, there's no way I'm fucking shooting an 8-year-old. Right. So I just didn't really cross my mind. The fact that we had reached that threshold crossed my mind, but that didn't really cross my mind. And so effectively, I start yelling at this girl to put the fucking scissors down. I'm chasing her around the desk as she's running around with this fucking pair of scissors held like a fucking butcher's knife. And then eventually I grab her wrist, get the knife away from her, put her in handcuffs, and fucking say, like, you're fucking done. Like, sit in that chair. You're not moving until your parents are here. And so basically, even though she's psychotic, I still, we get the parents there. Mom's mad at me for putting her in handcuffs because she's only 8. And I'm like, you know what? We don't have to agree. Take your daughter. We'll talk about this later. If you have a complaint, go to the fucking police department. But I activated my fucking body camera. You can see what happened. And so basically, like, my chief and deputy chief gave me shit for like, oh, you're fighting a fucking 8-year-old, huh, Connor? But I was like totally vindicated in the fact that mom can be pissed that I put an 8-year-old in handcuffs, but she was trying to fucking stab me or stab herself. That's some crazy shit.
That is some crazy shit. And it puts you in that weird position of having this unbelievable situation to describe later. So I guess that's true. I guess it's a solid counterpoint. Like, I mostly see the negatives of having everything in my life recorded and subject to scrutiny, but I can see the positive side. Like, look, that thing was so crazy. Nobody would ever believe my side of the story. And so the video saves you.
I'm a big guy. I'm 6'4". I'm 230 pounds. So if I put my hands on a kid, like, I expect people to kind of get pissed, right? Like if I knew that a big man put his fucking hands on my kid, my default is to be angry. But if my kid was running around with a pair of scissors, fucking threatening to stab herself or stab me, then okay, you got to do what you got to do, right? And that's how it ended up. The complaint came in, they reviewed the body camera. And the chain of command was like, yeah, wait, what did you want him to do? Like, you don't want to pepper spray an 18-year-old. You don't want to tase an 8-year-old. You don't want to shoot an 8-year-old. So manhandling her and putting her in cuffs until her parents were there was, in my opinion, the right thing to do.
So now all I can see is you chasing Wednesday Addams to the Benny Hill theme song. Like,
that's what.
Like, that's all I can see.
Like, you arrested Wednesday Addams
with the Benny Hill theme. That's great. That is a great scene. I bet it looks just like that on video. You should put that video to the Benny Hill theme song and post it on YouTube. You probably get a lot of hits. Does that happen?
Yeah,
Does that
maybe.
happen a lot in the police community?
It's been a while, I got out in 2019, but I could check and see if the PD still had the camera. That'd be
That would be amazing. Does that happen a lot? Do police videos find their way onto the internet frequently?
They can. They're technically public records, so you could freedom of information. I don't know what the retention laws are, but they might still exist. I want to hit one other psychological thing before we get back into the content, though. There is something in me. And maybe it's because I've watched too much Warhammer 40K, or maybe it's because I've been in a substantive amount of pain in my life to the point that like the oblivion of death seemed preferable than the pain of life. I felt like the Marines, like they might not have had the instincts to shoot that woman, but if they had shot her, I would have viewed that as a mercy.
Yeah, she was in a tight spot, right? Like aside from the chest burster thing, what do you do with that lady? Like, how are you going to recover? She looked pretty bad off, and she's the only one still alive. So presumably everybody else died the same way. Yeah, looked pretty miserable. The medic doesn't seem to be. I mean, the medic is that one girl, right? She doesn't seem to be enjoying the situation too much.
Well, and that's my thing. It's like, get shot now and die while a chest burster rips out your chest, or wait 30 seconds, have your chest ripped out, probably pass out from the pain, and have your corpse lit on fire while you might be still semi-conscious. I think I'll take a bullet to the face.
Yeah, no shit. It's like that weird alien dick like pops out of your chest. I mean, that shit looked rough, right? It did not look pleasant at all. Like, ugh.
They did make it weirdly phallic to make the audience uncomfortable.
They succeeded. At 7, I remember being very uncomfortable by this scene.
Yeah. Well, Severance has just started Alien Earth and it slaps. Based. I'm looking forward to that. All right, let's watch First Contact. Ooh, they're starting to creep.
Movement.
What's the position?
Can't lock in.
Talk to me, Hudson.
Multiple signals. They're closing.
Go to infrared, people. Look sharp.
What's happening, Apone? Can't see anything in here.
Pull your team out, Gorman.
I got signals. I got readings in front and behind.
Where, man? I don't see shit.
He's right. There's nothing back here.
Look, I'm telling you, there's something moving and it ain't us.
Off scale, man. They're all around us, man. Jesus.
Maybe they don't show up on infrared at all.
Forgot that detail.
Oh no.
Jesus Christ, Apone, what is going on?
Basket, Crow are down. Dietrich, Crow. Dietrich, Frost, off the board. Sound off. Frost.
Where's Basky? Where's Basky?
Let's rock!
Who's firing? God damn it! I ordered to hold fire.
Coming out of the goddamn wall. Look!
Apone, I want you to lay down a suppressing fire with the...
That's good. Straight. Hold your fire, goddammit.
The incinerators and fall back by squads.
Say again. All after incinerator.
I said I want you to lay down a suppressing fire with the incinerators and fall back by squads. Talk to me.
Copy.
Apone, talk to me, Apone!
Get them out of there! Do it now!
Shut up!
Okay. I'm going to pause it. This is why the Marine Corps pushes leadership down to the lowest level possible. And this is why when something goes apeshit, the general encouragement from most people who are sane is shut the fuck up and stay off the comms.
Yeah, it gets a little confusing quick, right? But you could see the moment. You could see the moment that he had to kind of get his hands around the situation and give guidance meaningfully. And then that moment passed, right? There was that silence. Everybody's kind of standing there. They're looking around. They're waiting for somebody to tell them what to do. And then girl starts shooting. You're like, fuck, it's over, man. You're not going to hear anything else. Nobody in that room is going to hear anymore, right? Because you're all just completely like beeps. Like all you're hearing is beeps now. And my man's got no ability to generate any kind of guidance. Guy couldn't hear him anymore. Then the guy gets killed. That's his only touch point. And you're like, well, you lost it. And
that's exactly why you wouldn't have a lieutenant with a bird's eye view, except to feed information to the squad that's making decisions. That's why you wouldn't have the squad exclusively be led by a sergeant. That's why you have corporals and lance corporals, right? Lance corporals are supposed to be salty, enlisted people who are still at the troop level. Corporals are supposed to be like the fire team level leaders. So if you lose the sergeant and you have the squad, the corporal can step into the slot. And or if you have a fire team that gets broken off from the rest of the element, the corporal can seize command of that little element, right? And so right here, with it going sideways, what's the Murphy's Law quote? It's like no plan survives first contact. So instantaneously, you have an alien that's capable of hiding from infrared, steal one of your flamers, blow up your grenades, set a Marine on fire, and probably 3 people are already dead even before the sergeant gets smoked. And then you're trying to withdraw, but one of your machine gunners cuts loose as you're leaving. It's like, the lieutenant isn't doing shit.
No, his ability to lead over camera is super negligible. And it's weird that the sergeant isn't more decisive quickly, but he doesn't. Honestly, who knows how much combat that guy's seen either. I mean, we get the impression these guys are salty, but being old and salty doesn't necessarily mean been in a lot of firefights, right? And so if he's been on a bunch of kind of security missions, he might be 16, 17 years in service, getting ready to retire in 3, may have never been to war, right? There were a lot of Cold War vets that were super senior and knew their jobs, but in that moment, they'd never really been tested, and you don't really know how they're going to respond. He just seems to have frozen a bit, and so now
that was one of the interesting things about. So I enlisted in 6, and my gunnery sergeant. So I had a gunnery sergeant named McIlroy who was one of my drill instructors.
That was his name.
Yeah, literally McIlroy. My other drill instructor was named Bone, and my other drill instructor was named Shelmadine. Shelmadine was built like a pit bull. Bone was built like a skeleton, and McElroy was built like I don't even know what to say, like a fucking pirate. He had like a gold tooth and shit. Like, but McIlroy, he was a 90s baby. Okay, so he came in after Desert Storm. The most senior experienced people he had were like Vietnam vets who were already on the verge of retirement by the time he came into service. And they were babies during Vietnam. Then you had Persian Gulf vets, but they were not that common because only like 250,000 people like deployed, and they already rotated out of service, and not all of them saw combat. And then and so then he was actually like praising. It was really weird because he treated us like shit the entire boot camp, but then he actually praised us at the end. At the end, he was like, "You guys enlisted after 9/11? Are you guys fucking stupid?" he was like, "I joined during peacetime. I deployed against my will. I wanted a Dodge Charger. You dumb fucks enlisted after 9/11. What's wrong with you?"
There's a totally different mentality. I mean, peacetime, wartime, military service that's been a cut line for a long time. But that blur is weird when you end up with the leadership all being kind of the old crew and all of the young people being the new crew, and that it does create a weird dynamic. But I don't know if that's what we're seeing here. But yeah.
Yeah, well, he did like praise us after criticizing us. He was like, "I was a peacetime Marine. I was looking to get in, get a uniform, get laid, and get a car. I don't know what's wrong with you fuckers. You guys are crazy."
Go buy a Charger at 13% interest from the legit.
Right, but hey, bro, you got the Charger.
Third Marine down that same Charger.
Yeah, but with Sergeant Apone, I would say that this is a cultural difference, and this is something that not only would I like to see it reflected in media, but also I think I want to see it reflected in military culture going forward. The Marine Corps does what it does for a good reason. And that culture of pushing leadership down to the bottom is very smart. And so effectively all I'm seeing right here is exactly why chain of command should be pushed to the most local level possible.
Absolutely. You should give the guys the guidance that they need going in. Here's your lefts, here's your rights. If you got to adjust, they can't shoot, for example, then you push that down. But otherwise, you stay out of the business. You don't try to make the tactical decisions for the people that are out there.
And don't clutter comms. So right here, he's trying to give them like the good advice, like, get the incinerators, fall back by fire team. Burp, 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 burp. Nobody can hear shit. And then, Ripley's the hero who's communicating that more effectively, I guess. But, even if Ripley was in my ear and I was in a firefight with xenomorphs, I'd be like, Ripley, stay off the comms. Please shut the fuck up.
Shut the fuck up. It's funny though, right? But there's that old truism is like, it's a push to talk, not a push to think. But you watch the LT, he's like, push the button and think. Like, no, buddy, when you push the button, that's the time to talk. You should have done the thinking before, because otherwise you're just killing the whole net.
Right. Radio comms is its own art, but yeah, let's watch the pullout because it gets messy.
Whoever's left, get the hell shut up! God damn it! God, where's the phone? Where's the phone? Sergeant, stop! Get the fuck out of here! Let's go, Marine!
Hudson? Vasquez?
What's the lookout?
Hicks! Tell them to fall back. Tell them to fall back.
You're cut off! Do something!
Come on, keep moving, baby.
Hold on, Newt.
Ripley, what the hell are you doing? Turn around! That's an order! Get off me, damn it! That's an order! You had your chance for me. Come on! Come on, Come on, let's move it!
Come on, let's go!
It's blocked, man. We gotta go around.
Open the door! Hicks!
Break! We are leaving! Fire in the hole! He's gone! Go! Put it out!
Breach diamond!
Yes!
Breach!
Gone!
Not!
Forget him! He's gone! Get in the goddamn door! Eat this! Ripley! Go!
All right, I'm gonna stop it there just because we've already consumed a vast amount. So I have a billion thoughts. What are your thoughts?
Oh my gosh, there's so many there, right? But one, the infantry lieutenant can't overpower Sigourney Weaver. What the fuck, man? Like, I mean, assuming he's wrong, assuming he's the bad guy in the situation, I get all that. Still, really, you can't handle Sigourney Weaver? Like, you just get like beat down by her? That's pretty weak. So I got it. He loses whatever cool points he had remaining right there when he can't overpower the lady who is driving his car, which she's very good at driving. I mean, it's a military APC. She just seems solid at just like getting in there and driving it right off the bat. That's so solid on her.
Well, what a good buddy in Motor T, right? Because there can be absolutely buddy fuckers during operations, especially during like, exfiltration, infiltration, whatever, where they can drop you off like, 2 miles to target, or they can drop you off 20 miles to target, or they can pick you up 2 miles to target, or they can pick you up 20 miles to target. And there's obviously like a lot of tactical considerations that go into infiltration, exfiltration. But I gotta say, this does remind me of like Vietnam pilots kind of going into hot LZs to pick up medevacs, right? Where she knows that her guys are screwed unless she gets there. And so she's like, you know what? Fuck it. Like if we all get smoked, it is what it is. And then she literally crashes into the wall to make exfiltration even easier for her team. And you saw how close like the Xenomorphs were to overwhelming them. If she hadn't have done that, the remainder of the fire team, which is like 4 or 5 people, they would have been lost. They would have been gone. There's no way they were running 1.5 miles with Xenomorphs pressing them to the vehicle.
No, 100%. And clearly the right answer, right? Clearly the right answer is to get them in. But what the LT could have been doing is coordinating, I don't know, the rest of the assets up on the spaceship to come in and help deal with this. I mean, he had no reporting up. There's no like fallback plan. There's no like, well, what do we do next? He's the one that's not getting shot at, or I guess stabbed and acided in this case. So he's the one that should have the space in his brain to think about what the hell to do next. Clearly not doing it. So he gets 0 stars as a lieutenant. Fucking big thumbs down.
Yeah,
down.
That's true. And then I think they are operating with a skeleton crew. So I don't think there's like a Marine reinforcement. I don't think there's a QRF on the ship. However, their air element, I think, is on the ground, which is how it gets like infiltrated later. And 100%, you should be like, hey guys, you know, squad's under fire, get in the air, make sure you're not infiltrated by any Xenomorphs, and also get ready to cover us as we're exfiltrating. And so, yeah, that's absolutely the kind of shit that should be going down for sure. In reference to them like falling back by squad though, I'm actually okay while it's like a little sloppy or whatever, but that's what happens even in the heat of anything, even the heat of training. This happens. People falling back, they're effectively providing each other covering fire. You know, one of the guys is carrying one of the wounded people, and then you just deal with the variable that you don't know, which is the acidic blood. And so while Vasquez thinks that she's covering her friend, I forget her friend's name, she wastes a Xenomorph, but then splashes him with acid blood, and then that ends up screwing him up and getting him killed. That's one of those things, man, where the reason why security forces train is because you don't want to be the guy who accidentally frags one of your teammates. And that shit happens. It's not all the time, but it does happen. Like, for instance, Pat Tillman. Pat Tillman was killed by friendly fire.
Yeah, for sure. No, you're absolutely right. And it's the variable of the acidic blood in this case, you know, we would say probably just like clears her on that. Because I mean, obviously her marksmanship wasn't bad. She didn't shoot the dude, but you saw all kinds of other fratricide, right? Like the guys getting picked up and accidentally flaming the squad. I mean, it's maybe that's excusable. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely something you want to train your way out of.
It's excusable, but I think we're also, maybe I'm a cop, or ex-cop, so getting Monday morning quarterback is part of my thing. It's excusable on an individual level. Like if Vasquez felt guilty for accidentally fragging her bro, then you would go to Vasquez and you would say, listen, it wasn't your fault. Like you didn't know what was going on. You were blasting the Xenomorphs. You thought you were going to help him out. If you didn't kill that Xenomorph, he probably would have been fucked anyways because he just would have gotten eaten. So realistically, you did the best you could with the scenarios. And as a mentor or as a brother in arms or sister in arms, that's what you would say to Vasquez. But for Vasquez, if she survived this thing, she's going to replay that moment in her head for the rest of her life because she had a combat scenario. She made a snap judgment. It could have even been the right judgment, but in her snap judgment, she got one of her friends killed. And so that's just going to be something that probably on her dying day, when she's an 80-year-old woman in a rocking chair, she's going to be thinking about, did I make the right move?
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I mean, that is PTSD, right? That is what PTSD is the second guessing of decisions long afterward. I mean, Newt, for example, probably pretty deep in the PTSD camp at this point. Like, I think so kind of weird looking at this thing. She's like, man, she's a totally rattled little kid.
Yeah, not only did she survive her entire colony getting eaten, but the heroes that came to save her just got turbo effed right in front of her. So whatever sense of like security or happiness to see other humans, that has evaporated. There is, there are no heroes here. Yeah.
Dude, and we wonder why Alien 3, the next movie, is such a downer. Like, of course. Like, what the hell is Ripley's attitude going to be like after these first two movies? Like, there's nothing.
She's going to be a little cynical. Sorry, my dog just stepped on my monitor, so I need to make sure it comes back. Yeah. She's going to be. Can you still hear me okay?
I got you.
Yeah, so yeah, she's definitely gonna be cynical. So Test Demi Human says, "Hey yo, are we talking about aliens?" Absolutely, we are. Thank you for hanging out. If you enjoy this style of content, and then I would say I got about 30 minutes left. So I would say let's wrap the exfiltration. Not like immediately, but over the next like 30 minutes, let's watch the exfiltration, and then I think we'll wrap there just to keep it in a consumable segment. All right, you ready?
Absolutely, man. Let's do this.
He'll write himself up for a Purple Heart for that one.
Icing on the cake. Icing on the cake.
What's that?
Icing on the cake that he gets knocked out by like a water can. Like it's just there we go. The perfect end to a perfect mission. Well done.
Unsecured water can.
It's all right. We're clear. Ripley, you blow the transaxle. You're just grinding metal. Come on, ease down. Ease down. Ease down. Ease down.
You okay?
All right. Get away from me, man!
Lieutenant,
What happened to Gorman?
I don't know. Maybe a concussion. He's alive.
He's dead. Wake up, pendejo, man, I'm gonna kill you!
Back off. Right now.
Somebody get me a first aid kit.
Hey. Hey, look. The Sarge and Dietrich aren't dead, man. Their signs are real low, but they ain't dead.
Then we go back in there and get them.
Fuck that.
Don't leave our people behind.
I ain't going back in
You
there.
can't
man.
help
Take
them.
me.
You can't. Right now they're being cocooned just like the others.
Oh, dear Lord Jesus, this ain't happening, man.
Yeah, that means that Sergeant Apone, like the end of his pre-retirement career is wakes up, has bug in him, has time to think about
Yeah, he's like, dang.
Like, man, is that how this all ended up? What the hell?
Yeah, he's like, I should have gotten out at 20. You know, he's like,
it's a weird detail of like the Aliens universe you don't think about, but everybody gets to have like their, play your life back through your head, like visions of your life flashing before you as you get like your consciousness. You get like a day, maybe a half a day of just hanging there waiting to get put to an alien. You're like, I did it all wrong.
Yeah,
I knew I should have signed that life insurance check.
That's so funny. So we, in the service or whatever, we had the life insurance stuff, right? And they actually like TGSLI. I don't even know what the acronym was. But they had like a supplemental life insurance. So I think the Marine Corps automatically gives you something. But the additional, they had the will writers and the supplemental life insurance people come to us specifically before deployment in order to be like, hey, if you die or get maimed or wounded, you're entitled to $250,000. But if you get smoked and you sign up for this thing, which is $20 a month, we'll give you $1 million or like a $500,000 or whatever.
It's like blackjack with your family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So on one hand, you're dead. On the other hand, your family wins the lottery. And so you're kind of like, so you got to do that calculation before you deploy. And then the other thing too is, I don't know if you meant it this way, but with Sergeant Apone, he looks like he's a little bit long in the tooth, and you can hit retirement at 20 years, but I think you hit like 80% or something. I forget what the ratio was. And if you hit 30, you get 100%. So what happens is most people hit 20 and they get out because they're like, that's enough of that. I'm tired of waking up at 5 a.m. I'm tired of PT. I'm tired of getting yelled at. I'm tired of deployments. Fuck all this shit. I'm out. But then some like old salty veterans, they're like, oh, well, I actually have it pretty good in this job. I'm going to ride it out for another 10 years and get my full retirement. And so I'm just thinking about like Apone being like, man, I should have taken the admin job. Man, I should have left at 20 years. Man, I just re-enlisted, 3 months ago. I could have gotten out, and then he gets chest bursted.
But you know what he wanted? You know what he wanted? He wanted his overseas combat bonus. So if you re-enlist and you do it overseas, you're in a tax-exempt zone, right? You get to keep all that tax money. So if you're signing up for like 60,
Iraq was so sick. Iraq was so sick because that 10 to 15% that was going to Uncle Sam, you just kept that shit. And then also your chow was provided for. Your housing was provided for. So you didn't have a mortgage. You didn't have rent. You didn't have to pay for your food, and your money was tax-free. There are plenty of people who did, even as enlisted people who have a $40,000 a year salary. There were people coming back from deployments with $40,000 because they didn't spend a dime.
100%. I re-enlisted combat. I figured that's tax-free too. Plus, then you can pay for all your divorce settlement because you've probably been divorced at least a couple of times.
Right. Yeah, you got to make that child support money. That's true. That's a factor. But
I just love it. I love him sitting there cocooned, like trying to play back his life's decisions. Like, man, should have done something a little bit different. Like, what a terrible moment.
Should have been supply.
Should have been supply. Should have done this shit job.
Yeah. But whatever 4690 says, if aliens impregnate an eagle, do you get flying aliens? And the actual answer is yes. So in extended alien movies, I think they show a dog get infiltrated by a xenomorph, and it becomes like a dog xenomorph. So yeah, the biology of the xenomorph life cycle is modified by the host. And then you say Paxton really improved this movie. Yeah, I think Paxton's like, I like this guy. I like Hicks. I think he plays an excellent character. But I think Paxton did a perfect job of being the Marine who's like shit talking before you get there. He's hardcore. We're hard chargers. We crush skulls. We're badass, blah, 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 blah. But then when it actually all goes sideways, he falls apart like wet tissue paper. And I'm not even hating. Like, that's like a crazy... the past 20 minutes of his life were absolutely batshit.
But then he comes back around, right? So I think he's a super realistic character in the sense that you get that full arc of, like you said, all bravado to complete collapse. Oh man, like he's tested under fire and he kind of fails, but then he comes back from it. And you give Hicks a lot of credit for that as the corporal, I think, and kind of bringing everybody back together and like providing that forward leadership you talked about earlier.
Well, and I'll share too. I've shared this a couple of times, and I think I'm just assuaging my own guilt. But when I was in the Marine Corps, there wasn't really anything huge that I doubt myself over because the few crazy situations I acquitted myself the way that I wanted to acquit myself. But in law enforcement, there's so many calls because I went to a crazy call once a week. There are so many calls where I did well, and there's 2 or 3 calls that stick in my mind because I fell apart. And it was just, baby's dead or, a guy gets shot that I was taking care of and this, that, the other. And I just didn't do what I should have done in line with my training and the psychology. Like a hero would not, like Arnold Schwarzenegger in a 1980s movie would not have done what I did. But what I found was that wasn't the end of my career. That was just a bad call. And so I had to dust myself off. I had to shake off the cobwebs. I had to shake off the anxiety, and I had to go hump the next call. And then I proved myself on hardcore calls after that. So one freak out, especially in the security services, I think it should be, if it happens all the time, that should be something where it's like, hey, maybe you're just not built for this. But if it happens once and you recover, I think that should be just treated as like you're getting experience in the job.
In my experience, it mostly has been that way. Like if somebody screws up something, a lot of times that's going to kind of wake you up and rattle you. And then the next time you go back, it's going to be one of probably the hardest times to do it, actually, because then you've got that fresh disappointment, that fresh failure. And like, I don't think I could do it. But then you get past it. And then it kind of, I think, provides kind of resilience and solidity, kind of moving past that. And I think there's mostly recognition in that community. I mean, you see people that kind of choke, unless you choke too badly. If you choke too badly, it could be terminal. But generally, everybody screws up. You do something enough times, you're going to screw it up. I mean, Tony Hawk screws up at skateboarding, right? And then, he's about as good at that as you can get. It's the same in any other business. And ours is just particularly high profile, high
stakes.
Yeah, high stakes, yes.
Yeah, well, DKK for 100. I think that's Danish kroner. If you want to correct me, I don't know if there's any real world examples of soldiers going in with almost full intel, but because it sounds so outlandish, they dismiss it and get boned. Oh no, that happens all the time, bro. So going in with full intel is not common, right? There's a fog of war element that pretty much everybody expects. I think the best thing nowadays would probably be the United States has signals intelligence. So sometimes we'll break the bad guy radio or the bad guy computer or the bad guy email before you go in. And so you kind of know what the bad guys are thinking before then. We also have drone monitoring. So sometimes drones will be monitoring a combat area before you go into it. So you'll have some briefs there. But the truth is, like, you don't know the details once you get into that room, right? You could know like a vague layout of the building, but you don't know if there's a tripwire IED. You don't know if there's a guy with an RPK or an AK. You don't know if there's a QRF element of the bad guys who could respond to your raid. You don't know any of that shit. And so you kind of have to roll in, and this might be cringe, but like, expect the unexpected. You have to expect it to go sideways to some degree. How do you feel about my analysis, Dan?
So one, that's completely true. And I think also what he's asking is like, well, let's say that they did have perfect intel, but actually they ignored it because it was outlandish. My beef with intel is you don't actually know what perfect intel is until afterward, right? So a lot of times you get assessments from intel people every time you do any operation. They're always going to tell you their best guess. Sometimes it's right, sometimes it's wrong. But I'll be honest, tend to get a little cynical after you go on enough wrong ones. You're like, all right, you don't know what the hell you're talking about. Now, what does that mean? That means in the future, it has happened, that people will be like, this is what's going to happen. You're like, whatever. You don't know what the hell you're talking about. You go do it. They were absolutely right. And we just totally ignored it. So I'll take that hit. But it's hard to sift out the wheat from the chaff when, somebody's handing you this novel of shit every day. And a third of the time, it's kind of right. 2/3 of the time, it's all made up. You're like, I don't know. You get a little cynical about.
No, it's so true, because there's like the salty war dogs who have seen it so many times that they can like predict like that they won't give you like, somebody with a technical dushka is gonna come after us or whatever, but they'll say like, hey man, we're going into like Solder City, which is like we're going up against the solder brigades. They have like a really good QRF. It's going to get fucking hairy. And you're like, yeah, whatever, bro. I've been on like 20 raids. I'm hardcore, blah, 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 blah. And then you get turbo fucked and you're like, oh, okay.
Like, my favorite is the I told you so. It's like, hey, there's a vehicle-borne IED in the city. Yeah, it's in a cab. Okay, there's 7 million cabs in the city. So one of them explodes. They're like, see, I told you it was in a cab. Like, well, it's not helpful though, is it, buddy? Like, how?
Yeah.
Like,
That's not useful.
Cabs every day. Like, well, your intelligence was accurate, but it was also not useful. So yes, there's a lot of.
I brought up that Dushka example specifically, but I'll read Grassroots super chat. I tell all my newbie engineers, you haven't really messed up until you haven't really made. I need to read this correctly. You haven't messed up until you make your first mistake that costs more than your salary. that worked has a lot more grace, and there are a lot more mistakes than people think. Yeah, I mean, especially like everybody can criticize from the comfort of the internet. I love criticizing people from the comfort of the internet, but I realize that the real world is reliant on people actually going out and doing things, and you need to make room for people to fuck up. Now, I want to show you this because this was a funny story. Technical Dushka, I think is how they pronounce it. But there was when we were talking about how like you kind of have to expect the unexpected. So there was a team. It was a book I read, and it was about Navy SEALs, and they were like going on raids. They thought they were so hardcore because they kept kicking in doors and surprising guys in the middle of the night. Well, what happened was one night they went on this raid, and they kind of weren't expecting it to be hairy, and it got super hairy. And while they're in a gunfight on a side road, not even at the target building yet, a fucking bad guy technical with a Dushka, which I think is like a fucking anti-aircraft heavy machine gun, basically.
It's a 50 cal. It's the equivalent of a 50 caliber machine gun.
Yeah, so it's a 50 cal light truck shows up, and it fucking drives by them at like 20 miles an hour and is trying to rake them with the Dushka fire. And they're stuck in like a skinny alleyway in the middle of Iraq. And so what happens though is because of the way the tripod is mounted, the guys are in a retention ditch. And so the Dushka is only hitting at like 90-degree level. They can't aim down to hit the seals. So they're fucking in a ditch with a technical truck right in front of them. And the Dushka is trying to push the fucking the 50 caliber gun so they can wipe out this squad of SEALs. But they're so lucky that it's so Mad Max that the tripod doesn't go down far enough. And so as a result, they're able to kill the people in the truck. But if it had not been for like shitty welding from the people putting together this like light truck technical, they would have lost like 5 or 6 dudes to this technical truck. So
better be lucky than good, right? Better be lucky than good any day. Because you're right. You get these worst cases. They're always briefed as like, well, worst case, enemy's got a QRF. We'll be in a narrow alley and they'll have a heavy machine gun. You're like, it actually happened. The worst case is looking right at me. And it's supposed to like,
dude, and I can't imagine like, you know, I've had some scenarios where I was like, oh shit, like, you know, this is actually happening. That level of surrealness where you're just like, oh my God, is that really happening? And then you kind of react to the scenario. But I couldn't imagine the scenario being there's somebody trying to kill me who's 3 feet away from me, but he can't aim his gun properly. And if he aims his gun properly, I will lose half of my body. That
like
I've never experienced.
Movie, right? It's like a Tarantino movie.
I've never experienced that level of surrealness. But yeah, like if you're cool, we still got like 13 minutes, so I'm gonna do I'm gonna let them do the post-op brief because I actually think there's some pretty quotable lines in here.
All right, we've got 7 canisters of CN20. I said we roll them in there and nerve gas the whole fucking nest.
Hey, it's worth a try, but we don't even know if it's gonna affect them.
Look, let's just bug out and call it even, okay? What are we talking about this for?
I say we take off and nuke the entire site from orbit. It's the only way to be sure.
There you go.
Hey, hold on 1 second. This installation has a substantial dollar value attached to it.
They can bill me.
Okay, look. This is an emotional moment for all of us, okay? I know that. But let's not make snap judgments, please. This is clearly an important species we're dealing with, and I don't think that you or I or anybody has the right to arbitrarily exterminate them.
Come on.
Hey, maybe you haven't been keeping up on current events, but we just got our asses kicked, pal.
Look, I'm not blind to what's going on, but I cannot authorize that kind of action. I'm sorry.
Well, I believe Corporal Hicks has authority here.
Corporal Hicks's.
This operation is under military jurisdiction, and Hicks is next in chain of command. Am I right, Corporal?
Yeah.
Oh, it's good.
Look, Rick, this is a multi-million-dollar installation, okay? He can't make that kind of decision. He's just a grunt. No offense.
None taken. Pharaoh, do you copy?
Standing by.
Prep for dust off. We're gonna need immediate evac.
Roger. On our way.
Say we take off, nuke the site from orbit. It's the only way to be sure.
A little different in the far future. A little different.
Dude, not only do I love this scene so much, but like, I'll say it because it's relevant. Have you ever heard the Game of Thrones quote about power?
Probably. Which one?
Okay, so the one that I'm thinking of is there's a man with a sword, and he's in front of a king, a merchant, and a priest. And so the king says, you know, kill the other 2 and I'll give you all the lands and titles that you've ever wanted. The merchant says, kill the other 2 and I'll give you wealth beyond your imagining. And then the religious person says, kill the other 2 and I'll make sure that you enter paradise. Who has power in that scenario?
I mean, the man with the sword.
The man with the sword. But also, here's the thing. If the man of the sword makes the pick of the power, the quote or the end of the parable is, power is where people believe it resides. And so that's what's interesting about this dynamic is technically the corpo, you know, he's got a multi-billion-dollar industry. They probably pay shitloads of taxes. They probably know congressmen and senators and presidents and all this bullshit. So they're probably insanely powerful. So if Corporal Hicks deferred to his judgment, they would follow what he said. Then Corporal Hicks, you know, has a gun. So if the corpo bends his knee to Corporal Hicks, then we do whatever Corporal Hicks says. And so it's this dynamic power situation. And what I like about Corporal Hicks, where who is it? Sigourney Weaver says like, "Oh, I think Corporal Hicks is ranking," and the guy's like, "He's just a fucking corporal. He can't make a decision like this." Well, what's so funny about that is that maybe I'm reading too much into it, but if I knew a late 30-year-old corporal, that guy got busted down. You know what I'm saying?
He's got a couple of DUIs under his belt.
Right. He's a sergeant. He's a staff sergeant. He might even be a gunny, but he fucked up somewhere. And because he was infantry his whole life, he just took his licks, went back to being a corporal. So he's been a leader before, but he did something stupid or dangerous or brave enough to keep him in the service, but dumb enough to make him lose rank.
A lot of rank. Yeah, you're right. I mean, you get the impression he's pretty cool-headed. But another interesting character in the scene is Corpo, right? Paul Reiser. That guy's got a pretty level head on his shoulders. Like, whoever hired that guy did a great job because he just went through like a murderous, amazingly devastating situation. His life is clearly highly at risk, and somehow he still feels enough loyalty to the corporation to consider the price of the facility that they're going to destroy. Like, is he in for a big bonus? I mean, what's driving this guy to care so much? Because he's probably going to die if he goes forward with this course of action. But
I'll tell you, you know, like maybe I'm spoiling it a little bit, but he is looking to fulfill the goals of the corporation, which I guess I'll leave for later on. But he's trying to fulfill the goals of the corporation to the point that he gets rewarded both financially and promotion wise. So that's what he's looking. He's looking to climb the corporate ladder and have a consummate financial benefit.
Well, he's a very cool-headed character because, man, he managed to keep those long-term priorities nicely stacked against the immediate crisis of we're all going to die. So good on him. But hey,
well, I'll spoil. Fuck it. If you haven't seen Aliens, you're 20 years too late, right? Wayland Yutani is myopically focused on the xenomorph because they want to weaponize it. And so at any opportunity that they have, they try to recover samples and replicate it and test it. So if he's the corpo who brings in like whole samples of like xenomorph eggs or xenomorph facehuggers or whatever, and they get to do the weapons testing, he's getting a fat promotion and a fat bonus check. And that's all he's thinking about is, if I have to kill everyone here, as long as I get paid and promoted, that's all I give a shit about.
Now I'm going to blow your mind here. What year was 20 years ago, Connor?
Yep. But I'm going to say for the sake of momentum.
What year was 20 years ago, Connor? You just said.
Oh shit! Don't even hit me with that. 40 years ago.
40 years ago.
40 years ago.
I just want to make you sad there for a second.
When I was born, this is how scary this is. By the way, getting older. When I was born, World War II was 40 to 50 years in the past.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, this movie is as distant to us as World War II was when I was born. That's scary as fuck.
It hurts. It does hurt. It hurts so much. So, last thing about this scene, and then obviously we can wrap it up. But what are the nuclear weapons? They got nuclear weapons. They're pretty casual with them. Like, yeah, we got nukes on the ship. The E4, he could pull the trigger on those guys. So I guess it's just like load them up and fire them. I mean, it seems very, very blasé about the employment of nuclear weapons on a planet.
Well, I think it's probably similar to the Starship Troopers meta, in my opinion, where like, especially in the Cold War, we kind of envisioned an era of tactical nukes. Like, I don't know if it's like a post-Cold War thing, but whenever I think of nukes, I think about mutually assured destruction and the destruction of the entire planet. That's what I think of. But the truth is that, especially in the nuclear age, like the 50s and the 60s, Americans built, because they were obsessed with nukes, which is cool, but they built crazy shit like air-to-air tactical nuclear weapons.
Nuclear mortar? There's a nuclear mortar floating around out there. Yeah, there's some crazy.
Think about that. There's a fighter jet with a missile on it, with a nuclear tip on it, that's supposed to be fired towards a Russian formation of jets. and then evaporate the sky where the Russian jets are. And we thought that like the Cold War, if it ever became World War III, Russia was kind of like a peer technologically. They were almost a peer logistically. And so we thought like, what if those bombers, those like bombers that they have, the 252s or 257s, what if hundreds of those were flying into Alaska? You know, and that's the way Americans thought.
It is kind of an interesting one. Yeah, you're right. I mean, they're just casual about nuclear weapons in a way that we wouldn't be today. But they're also casual about nerve gas. Like, yeah, we got a lot of nerve gas. Can you imagine privates having access to large canisters of nerve gas? Just like, oh, we got this. We could gas this base. This will be fine. It's just it's a funny mentality.
Well, and even if they did, if they had that because of bug hunts, right? Because they talked about doing bug hunts previously. Yep. So it might be a more casual thing. But one of the things that the boys at Valor showed me, which I actually did a script for, but I haven't shot the content, is tunnel rats. So with tunnel rats, one of the interesting things is in Vietnam, I think they called it the Iron Triangle. They were so used to encountering Viet Cong being underground, and they actually explored so few of the tunnels in Vietnam that left hand, somebody asked me, it's goop. It's a 3D printer polymer. But anyways, the in Vietnam, what they did is they got engineers. The first ones were Australians. And they took a compressor and they set a fire and they pumped the tunnels filled with smoke. Then they went in and cleared them after the tunnels were pumped with smoke. So I'm imagining colonial Marines using VX gas in a similar way.
I guess so. Yeah, I mean, I guess, again, it's all about what you're used to. So maybe they've just employed it before and it's kind of a casual thing. It's not that big a deal. And there is no EPA and the 20 million